Welcome in, everyone, to the newest episode of All Things NBA from A to Z. I'm Chris Persianen here alongside Zach Noble, ready to take you guys through the first just about 2 weeks of NBA action here in this season. Still overreactions happening. Sample size is still too small, but we're getting there. Patterns developing. Sample size is growing. We're getting there slowly. And so, Zach, I thought it would be apt or keen even for us to do a little check-in. Now, you and I went over a lot of storylines in the offseason with Albert by ourselves here on the show, talking about our predictions for a lot of these teams here in this 2024 season. Let's talk about what we got wrong, what we got right so far, based on how things look so far. I always pick bad news before good news. So
Fair.
we're going to start with stock down, and I want to start with you. The first team, you're going to give me 3 teams that you're down on compared to before the season, that these 4 to 6 games at the start of the season have made you say, they're worse than I thought they were going to be, and I'm comfortable saying that. Where are you at right now with your first team here?
Yeah, so I didn't necessarily look at this as just me, like my predictions before the year. I looked at it more so as the consensus and where the casual fan or the experts think these teams would have landed. And this first one is the perfect example because I was pretty low on these guys to start the year, but they had a great year last year. They made the NBA Finals, and a lot of people are extremely high on them. The Miami Heat are my main team. The stock down right now. They're 2-4. They're only 2 wins.
I like that.
Come against 2 pretty shitty teams, the Detroit Pistons and the Washington Wizards. And so they haven't beat anybody yet. Sure, you can argue the Pistons are maybe somebody to reckon with going forward, but I'm not there yet. Jimmy Butler, the stock exchange, we look at it. I came in with the aspect of player and team combo type of thing. And Jimmy Butler.
I did the same thing. Funnily enough,
okay.
Every single one of mine is a player and a team in one pick. Love it.
Perfect. Okay. So Jimmy Butler is the main culprit here because Tyler Hero, his stock is actually up. And he's the only one on the team, I'd say. But like Jimmy Butler, if he finishes the way he started, that's why I love early sample sizes. I was down on the Heat at the beginning of the year because they're a team that could probably coast all year and come in as the 6th seed or the 8th seed and really do some crazy shit as they've done in the past. But this isn't looking good. They don't look like anything close to what they were last year. Jimmy Butler right now, though, is, like I said, the main culprit. He's averaging 17 points a game off terrible efficiency. 7 rebounds is good, but he's down to only 3 assists, and his shooting splits are 40, 33, and 83 from the line's pretty good, but like his attempts are way down. He's just doesn't look engaged out there. Just looks like he's showing up to play the basketball game and doesn't really give a shit what happens from there. So I hope Tyler Hero gets some support because I do like Jimmy Butler when he's grinding and balling, but I'm really low on the Miami Heat right now.
Hey, man, I know they've got that last year playoff, run to their name, right? But I'm with you. I don't have their stock down because this is what I thought would happen. So I kind of did my predictions, and I don't have their stock down because this, I had the Heat as the 7th seed this year. I wasn't looking for, a gigantic start to the season from them. In fact, the start just kind of backs up where I was at. I don't want to confirm any biases this early in the season, so that's why I'm just leaving it alone.
For sure. Yeah, we're both looking right on them. That's cool.
I tried to do ones that I was wrong on or that I think I'll be right on. We'll see. My first stock down, man, is pretty easy. He was 1 for 9 from 3 against the Milwaukee Bucks in the first ever in-season tournament game. 82 for 248 is 33% over his last 17 games, including the playoffs. That's per Stephen Bondi of the New York Post. This is Julius Randle, folks. He's having a really rough season. 2-time All-NBA in the last 3 years, and looks like at the start of this season, like he's at Patrick Williams' stage of his career where he's still a young player, still got a lot of potential, still got a lot to learn. You got to just be willing to pass if you can't get a shot to go. It's really simple stuff. And I think Julius Randle struggled with that early this season. I think he's struggling coming off of an injury and a big time recovery, living up to that level of comfortability he had in his athleticism last season. But I think he's letting it leak into his play. I think he's having a tough time on the defensive end, moving on time, and he's letting that affect his offense. I think he's letting all his offense and not making shots affect his defensive effort. Overall, it's just not great, and it's leading to the Knicks playing a lot of isolation basketball, a lot of slow possessions, not resulting in points. They're playing decent defense. They're atop the league right now. Not a top, but they're at the top of the league, one of the top spots in defensive rating to start the season. They just can't score the basketball. And I think the main culprit, if I want to use your phrasing here, would be Julius Randle. So my first stock down is an easy one. It's Julius Randle and New York Knicks. I had them as a 3 seed coming into the year, and they don't look like they're playing like a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference to start this very early 2024 NBA season.
Man, I definitely wanted to save that one for you so you could go in on them and with the inside track, but I can't think of anybody whose stock is actually lower than Julius's right now. It's the lowest field goal percentage since 1959 through 6 games. If that doesn't tell you anything, and he's number 5 in post-up possessions in the league right now. Like, and you can't blame anybody else on the Knicks, I don't think. I mean, I've watched, I think, 4 or 5 full games of them, maybe more, but that's being conservative there. And it just looks like Julius Randle from 3 years ago with inefficiencies. That Julius Randle is way more efficient than this one. They can't even trade this guy right now. So
he's shooting 7% at the rim. You got to think that this is going to even out just a tad, man.
Yeah, no, it's a great early sample size. And how much of that injury do you think is impacting him, though?
I think he's one of those guys that will never say it. He'll never let you know that it is. If someone with that high of a usage is going to be a poor defender, they better be really good on offense. And Randall's having an all-time bad offensive performance to start the season. It's all going poorly right now. Nothing is justifying it. It's a really bad self-destructive cycle going on right now. Something's just got to give, a turn and a flip of the switch and a snap into all NBA mode.
Yeah, the worst part is he doesn't change his game when shit's going the wrong way. He just keeps playing through it and thinks it's going to just take over. I mean, that doesn't work like that, especially
when
you got other players
wrong. The reason for that, I think, comes down to the kind of shot selection you're looking at. So Randle is built like somebody who would have not that volatile of a shot diet. A lot of inside looks, a lot of driving looks, a lot of battering ram looks, right? Zach Randolph style. The thing is, Randle likes to play like a wing forward, so he likes to play outside. He likes to dance on the perimeter. He likes to have people slide in those puppies with him out on the left or right wing, especially that left wing. I think with Julius, with his shot diet being so volatile due to the high amount of long distance shots that he takes, he's either really on or he's really off. And I think that was demonstrated perfectly within games last season. The most 3-pointers made in first quarters of anyone in the NBA, I think more than Steph Curry per first quarter. But then after that, obviously he wasn't atop the league in 3-pointers made per game. So it really got rough after that. He was someone who really excelled at the start of games last year. And then when the game slowed down and the effort picked up defensively from the other side, he couldn't hang as well. I'm not saying he's not an all-star level player. I do think that there are a lot of all-star level players out there that require specific tailorings to their surrounding environments on the court. Randle seems to require a lot of those. The Knicks have tried a whole lot of different things, and I know Thibodeau doesn't like to go small, but that wouldn't help the rebounding, right? So I just think that at some point something's got to give with Randle himself, whether it's his effort or Thibodeau's willingness to endure it.
Yeah, I don't think the Knicks are playing bad as a team outside of Randle. I think everybody's playing fine besides maybe Emmanuel Quickly could shoot the ball a little better.
He's been great. He's got a good true shooting this season. No, he's been great.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I can't really pick anybody out that's not playing up to par.
You could say if you want to question someone's shooting, I would go DiVincenzo, and I would just say, well, it's a new spot,
He's still
he'll
playing
settle in.
hard, I
Yeah,
feel
and
like.
he's still playing good.
So it's crazy to be able to pinpoint just one player so obviously like that. And you can't say like there's people like Kevin O'Connor that just like to rush to conclusions or whatnot, saying you can't win with Julius Randle. Well, they won last year. They made it to the second round with him being the 1B or the 2 for sure on that team. And yeah, you have a clear ceiling. Like it's not very high, but like they need Julius Randle to figure his shit out, whether it's to trade him or to get this team going in the right direction. But anyways, my next one is not necessarily the team on this one. I'm focusing on 2 players. It's the Houston Rockets, but the 2 players are Jalen Green right now and Fred VanVleet. Yes, Fred's had a couple good games, and he's had mostly bad ones overall. And this team doesn't look like they're well coached. It still looks like Silas is running this, and Jalen Green hasn't taken a step at all. Yeah, I know it's a slow start, a lot of new moving pieces. I'm hoping it's a early sample size because they've looked better the last few games, but that's why it's a stock exchange. They're going to go up and they're going to go down throughout the year, but right now they're down for me. I know it's going to take time acclimating everybody. Dylan Brooks has been really good, but these 2 guys who I expected to be really good this year for this team have not been. Like it's been kind of ugly, honestly. Jalen Green doesn't look like an NBA starter right now.
A lot of people out there, if they were doing this, would need to have Dylan Brooks on stock up. I like that signing for Houston. I thought they were putting their cap space somewhere productive while being a young developing team, but I always thought they had to acknowledge from the start that they weren't going to be good. And I remember telling you in our Western Conference preview that they were not going to be a fun team to watch this season, despite having some fun young talent.
You did.
And I told you Van Vliet was going to be doing a lot of shooting. He's actually impressed me. He's the guy that has impressed me most on the Rockets. He's dishing the rock. He's finding teammates and he's dishing the rock a better deal than I thought he would, more than I thought he would. Jalen Green, definitely unimpressive. Definitely, again, if you're a scorer and you're not bringing scoring to the game at a consistent and efficient rate, then you really need to be bringing it in other regards. I think it's possible for someone who can't score to always bring it in those other regards and get minutes. If you can score and you can't bring it in those other regards and you're not making shots, you got to sit. So it's been tough with Jalen so far. I like these picks from you, but I also like the caveat that, JG or Fred, either one or both could very well be on the other side of this coin.
Yeah, I'll give you that he's averaging a lot of assists, and I didn't realize how high it was at 8.8, but like
he's dishing
I've
the rock.
I've watched probably 3 of their 5-6 games, and I just think it's comes from having the ball, and being the last guy to touch it before a basket goes in type of thing. Like it doesn't look fluid to me. It doesn't they're not valid assists in my opinion yet, but like I expect Fred VanVleet to be a much better shooter and scorer for this team as they need him to be.
I get what you're saying. I don't know if I like the term valid assist. We'll debate this another time.
I just that's what I'm getting at from watching him. But I mean, I could be wrong. It could be just playing out right now, and I could be trying to nitpick a team that's going through it. But yeah, he's had 12, 11, and 12 assists in games. So it takes a lot to have those type of numbers too. I mean, it's hard to say those numbers aren't valid. I get it, but
yeah,
that's
but I make that assist point about Halliburton all the time. That he had the high assist average last season, but a lot of those are schemed up. He can create those on his own, but he doesn't, and he gets them schemed up a lot of the time. And I think that people just have a tough time telling the difference when there's no need to even like discredit him for it, if you want to look at it that way. Listen, my next stock down, I'm gonna pivot right off yours. I got a scorer that wears a red jersey too, man. Zach LaVine and the Chicago Bulls. Welcome to the list. This has not been pretty so far this season, Zach. 41% from the field, and that's being nice and rounding up for LaVine. 31.5% from 3. He's averaging 22 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 2 assists. 1 stock, and the earliest players-only meeting in NBA history for the Chicago Bulls. Billy Donovan Just things are not going well over there. Things are not going swimmingly to start. I didn't like this core when it was put together. I was in on it this year as a core that would finally gel and finally reach its best point in terms of on-court product. Zach LaVine and the Bulls have not been good. Free Alex Caruso, man. Get him to Sacramento. Get him to Sacramento or some team like that that will let him play free and play fun. Zach LaVine and the Chicago Bulls disappointed me a lot. LaVine had a 19 for 33 game where he had 51 points against the Detroit Pistons. He follows it up 2 days later by going 6 for 17 against the Pacers, 1 for 6 from three, 1 assist, 23 points in 36 minutes on 17 shots. It's kind of tough, man. It's kind of tough. Yesterday, we are recording November 5th. On November 4th, he played the Denver Nuggets, scored 12 points on 4 for 12 shooting. It's tough, man. This is a tough start to the season. So LaVine and the Bulls, number 2 for me, especially the Bulls. That tough start to the season record-wise, they are 2-5. That's ugly. That's where I'm at on that.
So I'm a big Zach LaVine guy, obviously, and yeah, you're dead right on this. I mean, it's a lot like Dame, where one game is holding up his entire counting stats in that 51, and he was still a -8 in that game. But yeah, the Bulls are looking pretty bad right now overall, and honestly, I think you gotta sell high sooner than later before too many of these guys get exposed here, and their actual stocks go down around the league. But yeah, Zach LaVine, man, you would think after 3 years though, him and DeRozan would be a little more cohesive, and just I don't know why. I don't know how they haven't figured this out. I mean, it's Billy Donovan to me more than anything, but like I just don't know if Zach ever wanted to be paired with DeMar. It just seems like there's so much pushback that he's not like enjoying playing basketball right now, and it's forcing it like himself to get up game in and game out. So that's what worries me about Zach LaVine and teams trying to trade for him too. It's like, well, what are they actually getting here? I mean, I'm a firm believer that he is more of a winning guy than people make him out to be, but I mean, stats say otherwise with this guy. And it's unfortunate because I do want to see him on a team that I think he truly enjoys being on and can get excited for every game. But yeah, it's a lot of wasted talent right now in Chicago. I hope they figure it out sooner than later, but I'm looking really wrong on Zach LaVine, and it's been that way for
He's
a couple
having
years.
a Julius Randle-esque start to the season where the talent's there, the opportunities there offensively, and just the plays that are being made are not conducive to sharing the ball or winning basketball. And yes, these guys get 4 or 5 assists in a game all the time because they have the ball so much, and they're going to make that right read a couple times a game. But man, is it tough watching these two play to start the season, given the amount of offensive opportunity they get and what they've translated that into. Your third stock down team.
Yeah, so this is kind of a cop out, but it needs to be said. I mean, for me, it's very obvious. It's the Phoenix Suns. Basically, the sole fact that Bradley Beal hasn't suited up for one game yet, and Devin Booker's only played in 2. Their whole salary cap is in these 3 players right now, and they need them to be great immediately. They're like, there's no excuses right now, and it's really concerning because KD's doing everything he can right now, and it's just not enough. He's
Eubanks started the second half over Nurkic the other day. You see that?
Oh man, yeah, that's not a good sign either.
Where's Dwayne at?
If you're relying on Eubanks to hold you up, that's never good either. Yeah, you got Nurkic shooting 38% from the field, 25% from 3 off decent attempts. The bench is looking pretty abysmal too. I mean, outside of Grayson Allen, I mean, Eric Gordon's shooting 33% from 3. They're not diving too far into the bench, to be honest. It starts dwindling at number 6. Like, their minutes are really weird right now. I just think they need to spread it out more. They got to figure out these lineups. I don't know if Vogel's the guy for a team that's needing perfect offense, in order to win games. Their defense, sure, if it's a top 15, it might be able to get them somewhere. And I mean, it is right now. It's
They
definitely a
did
top 15.
they did the football thing of giving a bunch of offensive talent to a
That's
defensive
a
minded
perfect
coach.
analogy.
And it should be over Michigan State, man. They did the football thing that teams love to do, where they get all the offensive talent and playmakers, and they go, all right, well, defensive minded coach will get these guys playing hard. They'll figure it all out. This will go well. So
They need Mike McDaniels, man. They need Mike McDaniels getting weird out there. Who's your third stock down right now?
I thought this is where you were going when you said this was easy, but you were kind of more here on them than I was before the season. The Memphis Grizzlies are my stock.
Yeah, I was
down
higher
team.
on them for sure.
I had them winning 15-17 of their first 25 games without Ja Morant and being a solid team that just went out there and just kept things low scoring and put some points up. Desmond Bane, I thought Zaire Williams would get some production in, and they've been really bad. They have been really, really bad. There's not much that I can say is like exciting me about the Memphis Grizzlies right now. The return of Ja Morant is going to be really big for them. I thought they should get themselves in a position, and they could get themselves in a position where it would be the added boost they needed instead of what they need to win a basketball game. They are 0-6 at the time we're recording this. This is an easy pick for me and a quick explanation.
Yeah, it needed to be talked about. I mean, this is the last team to win a game of basketball right now. And they're not like, it's not that they're not playing hard. They're working their ass off, grinding, and that's the problem here. Like, they can't close one game out of 7 now. It's looking like they had a big lead going into the second half of their 7th game, and they're looking to choke it away right now to a young and not so good Blazers team. It's just like, what are they going to do here? Because they're going to be out of the playoff picture before we know it. Do you start trying to blow this team up, or do you just play it out? Because I mean, they do have some guys like that. I mean, probably are worth something on I don't know. I just don't know where to go with this team, because it's set up for a long run of building this chemistry and keeping this core together. I think you obviously keep Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr., but everybody else, it's like, do the pieces really fit? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. I need to see Ja in the mix. I love the idea.
I was just about to say, how did things look when Moran is back? Because that's everything.
It is. But last year, like, here's the thing. Last year, they were really good without Ja. The last few years, they've been really good without Ja. So what happened?
And then they
Tyus
let Tyus
Jones
go.
Is that really the separator?
He's really good. But I don't think he's some, difference maker where like your record's changing by so many wins. I just think the Grizzlies have long been an underrated like locker room tire fire. A team where, guys go and kind of just hoop. I'm not sure that they've had the best set of happenings there, past the Ja Morant stuff. Just overall. So yeah, I'm not super surprised here at all. This is a front office that like voluntarily turned, what was it, Melton and several first round picks and all that stuff into smart. And that's kind of it. I forget what the full extent of the trade is. Someone just posted it the other day, and it didn't look good for them. I just can't justify this. All of the moves that the front office has made. The Grizzlies replaced.
Melton wasn't in that trade, man.
No, I know. I'm saying in the last 2 off seasons, they've gotten rid of Jones, Melton, Brooks, and Kyle Anderson for Smart, Danny Green, Roddy. I know Adams got hurt, right? But they took Zaire Williams over Trey Murphy. No one talks about that because it's Memphis and they draft amazing and perfect. So you can't criticize any of their misses. But like, I don't know, man. This is a team that's in a tough spot. They just gave Bane a really big contract. They've
Well,
got
he's
a
been
lot of,
great. Bane's been
yes,
very good.
but they're in a situation where you kind of think they should be a little better than 0-6. So, obviously some stuff to iron out. We'll see. Again, very early, but this is not a pretty start at all.
Absolutely. Let's move some bright spots here. Let's get a little happy. And I hate being Mr. Negative all the time around this joyous start of the basketball season, but I'm starting off the bat here with the Orlando Magic. I was really high on them before the year, and they haven't disappointed. I mean, the only thing you could really nitpick about the Magic right now is Paulo. I mean, has been up and down. He's been very inconsistent, but with that, they're still 4-2 right now. Um, the bright spots outweigh any negative with Paulo. 17, 6, 5. I mean, those are solid with good efficiency, but like I want to see him closer to 20, like ASAP. I want to see his 3-point percentage get closer to league average. And he's got to be a better rebounder, but the team is pretty deep from a rebounding perspective, I think. They're just balanced, that is. And they got a lot of grinders, got a lot of hustlers. I think they're gelling. I think they're a well-connected team right now. And they could be a team that's just taken like the past Orlando Magic teams that take advantage of all the good teams when they're bad early on and that sort of thing. And that's the reason why I believe in this one is because I believe in the talent here. I believe in the coach. I just think it's going to work out, but their talent isn't proving to be like some world beater yet. I mean, Franz is very inefficient right now. They just look solid and the depth is there for me, but I'm going to give them their credit while they earned it. That's why their stock's up. They're 4-2 right now, third in the East. But again, Orlando Magic do this very often for a long time. So be wary, my friends.
Hey, man, they were third on my list, but they're in my stock up as well. And I didn't put a player. I just put the whole young core. If I had to single someone out for stock up, it wouldn't be a personal stock up pick because I was already high on this guy coming into this year. Jalen Suggs, you and I spoke about this with Albert. This season, really bad field goal percentage, really bad 3-point percentage, but it's 10 points, it's 5.5 rebounds, it's 2.5 assists, it's 2.5 stocks, really good defense, really high quality defense. I think this guy's kind of like a decent symbol for this team right now. Someone whose numbers aren't the prettiest, but is just going out there playing really hard, showing some improvements on some ends of the court, one end of the court, pretty much. Defense showing a lot there, and has shown a lot, but he's been really good on that end this season. I don't know how I feel about Mosley yet, man. I need to see this Magic team get good and then evaluate him from there. I don't know if they're like straight up good yet. But you were higher on them than me coming into the season. I'm kind of catching up to where you had them before the season, which is like that 7-8 spot. And I
Yep.
think you're even higher on them now. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm still not like
I'm not
sky
higher on
high
them
on
now. I'll
them.
tell you that.
All right, word.
I'll tell you that because you know why is because I don't value early great defense. I just don't. Like they're number 2 or number 3, wherever you want to have them right now, defensive rating standpoint. But like the offense early on is more important to me because I think that's what sticks. I think that's what's needed. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Like if it was reversed where there was offense was great and the defense was terrible and they were 4-2 right now, I'd be way higher than them than I am. Because I believe there's a lot of inefficient players on this team to begin with. So that's what I'm looking for to improve. And as everybody else in the league starts getting more comfortable into the season, they'll be getting more efficient because usually in the beginning of the year, like your Jimmy Butlers, your Dames that we mentioned, your Zach LaVines, they'll figure it out. They're vets. They know what they're doing. And so Magic got to figure their offense out. And Mosley, we know he can coach defense. We're just worried about the offensive side of the ball, to be honest.
Memphis 0-6, currently down 98-90 to the Blazers
Oh
with
my
7 minutes to go. So Memphis definitely on my list. Yeah, man. Next up, I got the Clippers because of their acquisition of James Harden. You know, I was super
Fair.
high on the Clippers. This was kind of a consensus pick now. I think people are catching up to where I was at on the Clippers now that they've got James Harden. I'm probably close to as high on them now as I was before because I kind of just assumed before that they were getting Harden. But that paid off. So, hey, man, we'll see how it goes. I was the first out of anyone to report that Harden would be making his debut with the Clippers tomorrow, November 6th at Madison Square Garden. So,
Attaboy.
check that out because that should be a fun one. Harden at the Garden. He always has a lot of fun. Put up 61 one time. If I'm not mistaken, Melo 62, his career high, and the Garden high. Second place, James Harden, James Garden. Bad puns aside, the Clippers are going to be really good. Westbrook's going to start with the ball in his hand. Harden can initiate second actions. Kawhi and Paul George are go-to scorers. I really think if this team sets up a good flow chart for themselves in terms of offensive priorities, that they can be really good and throw a lot of different looks at other teams in the playoffs. It's about that scheme versatility. Always being able to throw different successful looks at teams is really important. It's what gets you through round after round. They got the film on you. What else do you got? Give me the Clippers. Give me Westbrook, Harden, George, Leonard, Ty Lue. I'm going in on this team. I'm going down as buying in on this team. We'll see if I get scorned, or rather, we'll see how soon I get scorned.
Love it. Love it. I didn't even include them because we've already touched on them. I want to touch on new teams, but yeah, I'm all about everything you just said there. For me, it's hard to put a player who's on a 2-4 team. However, he's a very young player and he just deserves his props right now. He's starting to make the leap, and that's Scotty Barnes.
Scotty Barnes.
Just led a 22-point comeback. He's doing it all. He's showing his ceiling that everybody, not everybody, but like people that thought he was worthy of that high of a draft pick. And I think he's here to stay. In the fourth quarter comeback, he had 17 points, 2 blocks, 2 steals. He's the third in the last 10 seasons, 10 years with at least 15 points, along with multiple blocks and steals in a fourth quarter. Joins LeBron and, oddly enough, Carmelo Anthony in that regards. But he's just doing some amazing stuff across the board. He's shooting 42% from 3, which is super efficient for him. That was the one area like I wanted to see him take a huge leap, and he's up to 23 points a game, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. Like, the dude does it all. He's running the point guard position quite often. He's bringing the ball up the court, and I just don't see a cap right now on this guy. It's just, can he lead this team to more wins? Because that's going to be super important. And a third year in the NBA, like, yeah, I'm starting to expect more wins coming out of him. Yes, the team isn't great overall around him, but I expected them to be better than they are right now. And with him playing this good, they got to be winning more games for those stats to not be empty. But he's definitely done it in some wins. So Scotty Barnes, I'm buying. I'm buying all the stock right now before it gets too hot.
He deserves the props. We talked about with Grange before the season on the Raptors preview show. If the Raptors are going to do anything this year, they need a leap from Scotty. They got it. That's crazy. I was like, that's not happening. They seem to have got it. Everyone else needs to catch up. They got the one thing I thought they wouldn't have that they needed, and everything else is almost like falling apart as the cost of it. Pretty interesting, pretty fascinating. We'll see how it ages, right? This is a weird Toronto team. They have like some talent. Is it enough? Does it fit right? We'll see. I love that you brought him up. I love that you gave him his flowers. He's had a great start to the season. He needed that for sure. I had to give someone else flowers who's a young player, even younger than Scotty. And not only on the court has he been tasked with a ridiculous amount of responsibility, but I think like organizationally to a fan base, this guy, a lot of people think that the MVP case of Luka Doncic, that the championship hopes of Kyrie and Luka hinge on if Derek Lively can be a starting center in the NBA. This kid is a rookie, true freshman at Duke, comes out in the NBA draft, gets taken by the Mavericks, and he's playing really good basketball. He's looked really, really good. And when you look at Derek Lively and what he's done for this Dallas team, I think it's a matter of like, will he sustain this into the playoffs? I think the playoffs become something that's going to happen for Dallas. I think that's something they can look forward to if they keep playing like it becomes can Lively translate it to the playoffs.
No, completely with you. Luka's looking like the early MVP, pretty obviously right now. It's just, do they have enough outside of him to keep winning these games? And I think they could be kind of like the Orlando Magic, a team that's a big time regression candidate coming up. But I was surprisingly really high on them before the year just because I believe they're a team that's going to win a lot of regular season games. I'm buying all the hype, but I wasn't that confident in that pick either. And I made that very clear, but we'll see if it lasts. That's what I'm looking out for because I know Luka's stats are going to last. It's just, will the wins be enough to keep him number one in the MVP race? So my next and third stock up candidate here, which there's a couple guys I wanted to mention. A lot of young guys that are just showing off their goods early, and that's what's fun in these early sample sizes. Their stats are going to definitely regress, but one guy whose stock is going to be up, and it's only going up from here, is yours truly from Minnesota, Chet Holmgren. He's not the Slim Reaper that everybody's talking about in Victor. Everybody's talking about Victor, but Chet, on the other hand, is looking very polished for a rookie. Very, very polished, and he's leading to wins. I mean, I'm not saying Shea's having that down of a year, but like he's not the world beater right now. He was last year, and I mean he's another guy that is just off to a semi-slow start. Will be incredible towards the end of the year, but Chet 17-8 efficiently right now. I think he's exactly what they need. It's just, is he going to be big enough defensively once things get more physical and they need the big body against Jokic, AD, that I still don't believe in whatsoever. But like, Chet's everything they imagined and more so far early. I mean, shooting 56% from three off really good attempts. The guy is doing everything that you can imagine for a rookie of the year. He's going to give Victor a run all year. I truly believe that. How close do you think that race is? And is there any holes right now in Chet's game, in your opinion, outside of size?
Yeah, so that's it, man. It's you got to think about what his responsibilities are going to be in that crunch time basketball down the line. I think there's something to that Porzingis role, being a really good basketball player and just impacting the team, doing what you're best at, hitting threes, protecting the rim, switching on defense. I think there's something to that. I think that would be, Kristaps Porzingis is really good, and I think Chet can be even more mobile, even more skilled on the ball than him. If you want to talk about a hole in the game or whatever, I still think it's really early. You can always point to defense. There's always room for defensive improvement, especially, you look at Chet and his responsibilities in OKC. Yeah, he could be handling them better. It's also a lot for a young guy. And, yeah, he's polished. He had that year last year to kind of sit and learn, but there's still something to doing it on the court. So you're right. Yeah, he is a rookie. Can't expect too much from him, especially on the defensive end where experience and reps, live ball reps are really, really huge. Just excited to see Chet continue to grow. I think the Thunder were a sneak candidate for stock up for me. Wasn't as high on them as a lot of people were coming into this season. I think Chet's translated really nicely, especially as a fit next to their other guys. Like Josh Giddey looks really good now with all these other guys playing some good basketball. Giddey's not someone who I'm super high on in a vacuum, but is really, really fitting in great as part of this OKC team. So it's all coming together for them. Just got to see them continue to grow. And I think they're kind of in a even more hesitant situation than the Knicks, where it's like, hey, this team still has the ammo. So, you can criticize them. You can say they're missing something. They are going to take the big swing at some point and be a whole different animal. So OKC is one of those teams where you kind of get to enjoy them for what they are right now, because you know what's coming. and they've got a lot of great young talent. You look at Giddey, Williams, Dort, not so young, but someone who's kind of playing that like vet slot in 3-and-D role for them. Shea, not so young anymore, but pretty young still, and one of the top advantage creators in the NBA. He's kind of got to get back to his game a little bit too, but I love this pick from you. I think it's a good one. And I think that rookie of the year race that you brought up, I think it's one of those situations where mid-season, 2/3 of the way through the season, the Chet hype starts to pick up. People get a little fatigued of Wemby.
Got to, man.
And then Wemby at the end of the year goes on one of those tears where it's like, oh crap, he figured out NBA basketball, and he'll remind everyone who he's the rookie of the year. He's going to win the award. He's going to take it home. It's not going to be close at the end of the year. I do think every bit of the way from 2/5 of the way through the season to 4/5 of the way through the season, that 40 to 80% of the way through this, like, I think around there, Chet makes it pretty close.
Just want to make it very clear right now. Like, Chet's been better than Wemby outside of that 38-point game. Like, that's the thing that's separating him, and all the hype Wemby brings. Obviously, Chet didn't have that hype coming in, but Chet has absolutely been better. He hasn't turned the ball over nearly as much. That comes with the height of Wemby as well. He's trying to figure that dribble out, which is really difficult. It's kind of fun to watch guys just pick them like incredibly easy right now, and it'll be a good learning lesson. But Chet's looking way better defensively. I mean, he's making smart reads, smart shots. He's doing it all. And honestly, usage is a big difference in the two, but Chet's doing everything you could imagine and more, like from rookie Chet and what you'd expect from him in this role. Like, you compare him to rookie Evan Mobley, yeah, winning player there as well. Evan Mobley was a complete winner coming in, but he didn't do shit offensively like what Chet's doing, and he's just doing it on a very high level. So just trying to compare him to guys that are similar in size, but also had a lot of hype coming in, because Mobley had a ton of hype coming in. And I mean, Mobley, I mean, a big part of that, I'm going to tell you, is because of the situation he's in too, just with all the stacked talent around him, and hasn't been the biggest fit for him to blossom. But that would be my 3 in the stock exchange.
The Mavs with Lively, the Clippers with Harden, Orlando with their young core, just impressing. I don't even think offensively, besides that dope ass crossover from Paolo. But they're impressing defensively a lot. Dope. So, yeah. To sum up for me, Randall, Knicks, Levine, Bulls, Memphis, stock down. Mavs and Lively, Clippers and Harden, Orlando, their young core, stock up. That's it for me, man. Through these first 1.5 to 2 weeks of this NBA season,
it's been fun.
Here. It's been fun for sure. Any final notes from you before we wrap up?
Yeah, I want to know what's your early take on the in-season tournament, because I think guys are actually playing pretty hard. That the game's been fun. They've been a lot of close games.
I think they were going to be playing. I think they're playing hard because it's the start of the regular season and they've got to set a tone. I don't think there's a single player playing harder because it's the in-season tournament.
I'm not willing to say that yet. No, I'm not willing to say that yet, but I do think I'm the guy that puts out hope there that there's a little reasoning behind it, because I don't think games this early in the season have been this exciting in the past. I really don't. I'm not saying the talent is playing up to par. You got guys like Butler, Shea, and Dame, and people trying to figure things out yet. And but there's context between that too. There are guys that are coming out really good as well. But I think it's only going to get better. I hope they start really showing that each game matters, and we get a really good in-season tournament, because I'm buying it. It could be great. And I'm not selling the in-season tournament just yet. It sounds like you may be.
I never had the stock, but if I did, I'd be holding it. I'd be holding it too, waiting for that final matchup, seeing how it goes. We'll keep you covered on that end and on all things NBA from A to Z here on our show presented by Ball is Life. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thumbs up the video. Put post notifications on when you subscribe so you don't miss a post. Rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcasts. And stick with us on Twitter, here on YouTube, or wherever you're listening to us. We've got you covered on all things NBA. See you next time.